Hey everybody, it's Holly again. I wanted to do a video on boundaries. I'm starting to learn a little bit about boundaries from my research and would like to learn a little bit more, but this is what I've gotten so far. And at the end, I kind of have a question for y'all. Just your opinion, anything like that, leave it in the comment section. And let's get started. So, I recently found a website that is absolutely great. It's a blog called Narcissistic, and it's about a woman who was married to a narcissist, and she didn't have any clue what he was until, I think, till a little while after he left her. Okay, sorry. So, after he left her, she discovered what a narcissist was, and, she spoke so well, and just so descriptively, and just perfect, exactly what I needed to hear. It was like she was speaking from my mouth, using all the words that I wanted to use, but couldn't find them. It was just really refreshing. I encourage you to check it out. It's just a great informational blog, from the horse's mouth. I mean, that's the best way to do it. Obviously, I don't even think that you could do research or anything from, if you haven't had an experience with it. You can read all the textbooks you want, but, knowing one or being one yourself or having been with one is the best source to learn about from. And you can really identify with other victims by looking into different blogs and stuff like that. It's refreshing, it's invigorating to see that others have gone through what you have, not because, you want other people to suffer the way you have, but just that you have someone to relate to, that you don't feel crazy, because they make you feel crazy. They make you feel, just crazy is the best way for it, and that's actually intentional, and I'll get into that in a minute. She actually recommends, the lady that does the blog, she actually recommends that if you are in a relationship with a narcissist, or you suspect you are, or you're out of a relationship with a narcissist, or, anything like that, to research. Just do as much as you can without being obsessed with it. I know that's hard, because I was really obsessed with it once I found out that he could possibly be this type of person. I was researching a lot. I started looking into it probably a month or two, and before the final no contact. And I had attempted no contact before, unsuccessfully. So, obviously the final no contact, the real no contact was the one that happened 3.5 weeks ago. Research gave me closure to an extent. You don't really get full closure with these people, but it gave me something to sort of, something sort of concrete to put it on. There's really no rhyme or reason to this. You want to make something make sense. It's never really going to make sense. You're never going to understand the way that they feel. You may learn about it, and if you kind of, I guess, I mean, I just don't even know how you could identify with them at all, unless you're obviously a narcissist. I can't identify with it. I don't understand how someone can be so callous and cruel and demonic, to be honest with you. I couldn't research too much, because I would get down on myself. I would get down, and I had to do other things, because it's such a hard topic. It's so dark, and like I said, you can't imagine that a human being would be like that. But it helped me to realize that I couldn't change him, and that it was not worth my time. And there were, even in the end, when I admitted that to myself, he's not going to change. I can't change him. Who am I to change him? But, the times that I tried to go no contact before, he would manipulate me back in. And eventually I really came to the terms with he never cared about me at all. And that was hard to admit to myself, because I thought, all the things he ever said to me I thought were real, and, I let myself believe that. And so it was just undoing that was really hard for me, because it's like almost like they're this imaginary person. And I mean, they really are. They're an imaginary person. And you feel like, you went to Wonderland and came back and nobody understands what you're talking about, but it happened. You felt a certain way at one point, and it's just, it's like falling down the rabbit hole or so. I don't know. I mean, I don't know how to describe it. It is just absolutely the weirdest, creepiest, darkest, scariest, saddest place, to be in terms of realizing you were in a relationship with this person. I think I wanted to change him. I wanted to fix him. I'm a personality type where I like to fix people. I like to help people, which is not a bad personality to have at all. In fact, there's lots of great careers based on taking care of people, like nursing and different things like that. But, you can't fix people. They really have to do it themselves. God, changes people, but people really have to make that decision for themselves. You can't force someone to do something or change or be something that they're not. You just can't do it. And, I had the best of intentions, but in the end, it just wasn't my place. It wasn't my place to do it, and it would have never happened anyway. And I wanted to be special enough to change him. I wanted him to, I guess my fantasy was that he would just be like, wow, she's great, and I realized that I'm not up to par with where I need to be to give her a good life. So what do I need to fix about, it would have never happened. But that was my, my fantasy, that he would, he would change. Now that was later. I'm talking about later, but in the beginning, he didn't need to change a thing. He was just perfect and wonderful. There were a few, like I mentioned before, there were a few things that kind of caught me off guard, but for the most part, I was like, oh, he's so wonderful. He's so just like me. I met my my match here. But if it seems too good to be true, it probably is, and it was. But, and the blog also mentioned that, aside from not getting into it too much to avoid the darkness, you don't really want to focus so much on him or her, because really you're done with them. So, you've moved past that. You've moved past that broken part of your life. Ideally, hopefully, everyone that's watching this has gotten out of the bad relationship, or you're about to. But you have to live with yourself for the rest of your life. So you need to look inside yourself. You need to say, and I'm not in any way, shape, or form saying that it's your fault or my fault. I know that if I could see and feel how I feel right now and know what I know a year ago, I would have never, I never would have been with someone like that. But, there was a point in time, obviously, where he got to me, and it's very important to move forward from this and grow as a person, and, find out what, and like I was saying, I in no way blame, say that it's our fault or anything like that. It's, it's just, it is what it is. But, and the blog I read was she encouraged everyone to look at yourself and find out where your vulnerability is. Find out where that crack in your foundation is that the narcissist got into, that they really reached in and got to you through. And, if it's something, that you think has been the case your whole life, start looking into that, seeing how you can heal. Because, they will use that crack in your foundation, and they will, appeal to your good-natured, good-hearted kindness, and tell you about how their ex treated them so shabbily and all of this stuff. They want to play victim. And another thing that they use a lot is, and this is the one he used, was that he told me that his ex-girlfriend was crazy, his ex-wife was crazy, that they were just crazy and all of that. And I look back and I think now he probably is telling everyone that I'm crazy too, which I'm almost certain that he is, because I think he told the new supply that I was crazy, because, she obviously knew I was, or thought I was, because he told her. Let me tell you this. This is harsh, but true. They drive you crazy on purpose, or try to drive you crazy on purpose, so that they can then tell you you're crazy. So they will do the crazy making behavior, the gaslighting, the manipulation, all of that, and make you think that you're the crazy one. But in reality, they're the ones that are causing this behavior, causing these feelings and emotions. And then they turn it around and use it against you. Well, she's crazy because she got really mad at me one night and, started yelling or whatever, because I don't even know why. I don't even know what I was doing. I can just see him now. I don't even know what I was doing wrong. She just started yelling at me out of the blue. No, I started yelling because he wouldn't give me a straight answer. He wouldn't quit lying. I knew he was lying and he wouldn't admit it, So they drive you crazy on purpose so that they can use that to their advantage. Everything that they do is to use to their advantage. Every tiny little thing that they do, they will use against you. And me trying to be someone who tried to help him and tried to enlighten him on some of his behavior, he ended up using that against me as well, and even told me that I was the one that was the narcissist, and that I was the liar and the cheater and all of this. And we'll get into disclosure in a different video, because I find that very interesting too. It kind of goes hand in hand with turning it around on you. But actually, when they say things like you're a cheater, you're a liar, they're actually disclosing what they've done. So, that's an interesting topic we'll get to later. I think back to the crack in my foundation. I happen to believe that it was from my anxiety. I mentioned in another video that I had started having panic attacks that summer before I started talking to him. And I honestly believe that paired with the fact that I hadn't worked in a couple of months due to my anxiety, and that I was just kind of down on myself. I was getting better from the anxiety, so I had a hope. But I wanted some excitement in my life. I wanted some happiness, because I just felt like I'd gone through such horrible feelings and just despair. So I wanted some good things to happen in my life. And I think he appealed to that by telling me how, pretty I was and how sweet I was and all this stuff. And so he used the anxiety, one, to relate to me, because like I mentioned before, he said he had anxiety as well. And, and also because I was weak, I was kind of down for the count at the moment. So I think he definitely used that to his advantage. And, in the relationship, I found myself lowering my standards a bit, casting some of my morals to the side. I'm not talking about killing someone or, any kind of severe extreme thing like that. But I noticed that he chipped away a little by little, It's some things that I normally would never think or say or do. And he made it sound like we had the same morals because, like I mentioned before with the mirroring, he knew that I was a Christian, and so he appealed to that, which, I mean, he's been to church his whole life. People argue that they're not Christians. I don't really know. I don't know, to tell you the truth. I think that's between them and God, but I know that that type of behavior is not what Jesus would do. So, you make your judgment about that. He made our morals sound similar. However, I later found out that, or later felt that was not, that didn't seem correct because of just different things that he had done. The prescription drug abuse, different things like that. I just felt like he had different morals than I did. It made me question his morals and his past. Things that he told me. I don't want to get into specifics, but, I just questioned it. And I realized several times during the relationship that it wasn't me. It wasn't the real me. I did shirk my morals a lot when I was with him, but I think it was to avoid conflict, to to avoid conflict and just to, garner his pity. He kind of had this way of making me feel like I had to please him or whatever. So I kind of did that to please him. I didn't want to shirk my morals. I didn't want to, get into things that, I normally would think were abhorrent or wrong. He persuaded me in different ways. The big thing is, and I was kind of hesitant to bring this up because it's so embarrassing to me, was that initially when I had started talking to him casually, I knew he had been married. I don't know if it was the words that he used or just that I was hoping that he was divorced, but I kind of sensed that he was. But I wasn't sure because he wasn't very clear about it. But he ended up still being married. They were going through a divorce. They'd been separated for over a year. When I talked to his wife in the summer, she confirmed that she had been living her life as a single woman for a year and a half. She, essentially was just single and separated and just waiting for the divorce to go through. There were a few formalities as to why the divorce wasn't going through. I think one of them was that his something about insurance, health insurance. I felt guilty about dating him, even talking to him. He would sugarcoat the separation, when I would say I feel bad, I don't think we should be together. There was a time where I actually said we don't need to see each other until you finish this divorce. And that was a rough time. Well, it was good to get away from him, but he would always not make me feel guilty, but he would just always say, I miss you so much, and all of that, and sort of pull me back towards him. Meanwhile, I think he was probably seeing other girls at this point. I never got confirmation of that, but from what I've read, that's what they do. I guess he was sort of preparing, if I did end up breaking up with him, he would at least have, somebody on the back burner he could switch over to. So yeah, he sugarcoated it. I made it sound like it wasn't that bad, that they weren't together. But I didn't want to be that girl. I didn't want to be the girl that, dated a married man or even talked to them other than, in passing. They finally got divorced in August, which, went no contact in October. So pretty much the whole of the relationship, he was married. He fogged my mind. This is back to the shirking of the morals. He fogged my mind. He always made me question that I was being uptight. I think I mentioned before that he always wanted me to stay at his house and maybe move in and all of that. And I didn't want to do that. I didn't feel comfortable. That's not how I was raised. I don't, believe in that. But he would always have a way of making me feel that I was sort of uptight or, old-fashioned. And there's nothing wrong with being that. If that's what you want to be that. It's up to you, not somebody else. But he would always sort of put that in there. Not in a mean way, but just sort of an undermining way. Just, people do it all the time, that kind of thing. And it was like it's like almost like how the devil tempts you. They make everything sound so appealing and make everything sound so great. And, he would always say, I'm a Christian and all of that. And I don't see anything wrong with it. So why should you? Just real shady. I pushed aside my objections to not cause conflict, to be able to relate to him better, which was not a good thing. So gradually that kind of wore away at my, my resolve. And my mom didn't like that he was married. She found out 2 weeks in to the relationship, and I was withholding it because I didn't want to tell her. I still wasn't sure where it was going, and he made it sound like he was going to be divorced, in a couple weeks or months or whatever. And, he was always changing it. Well, the papers were filed. Well, they weren't filed, but, we have them written up. Well, no, we don't have them written up, but, we pretty much know we're on board with each other about what we want. And, like I said, it was 10 months later that it was finally finalized. So obviously they weren't on board with everything. They pushed the divorce papers back on each other for months because they couldn't agree on it. Namely, he wouldn't agree to her reasonable requests. And also, if he wanted to be on the up and up and, really, if he wanted to respect my wishes, I believe that he honestly would have been like, I want to be with you, I want to date you, but I feel like it's disrespectful to you and her to still be married to her. So let me finish this up. Let me get it, squared away. And I promise you, we will start to see each other and date. That would have been, the ideal situation. Obviously, it didn't happen that way. I think it also appealed to me a little bit that he, felt so strongly about me and cared so deeply. Oh, I love you so much. I care so much about you that I just can't wait that long. And I think that was sort of a, it's something that kind of got to me that I liked a little bit. It stroked my ego. And, I think that got to me. So it was, like I said, he really appealed to me in order to get his way. And, like I said about the respecting me and other women, respecting me and his ex-wife, I feel like men, as a side note, I feel like men who treat their mothers well, who treat their sisters well, who treat their daughters well, who treat women and just people in general well, those are the ones you want to look out. Those are the ones you want to spend your time with, because he would talk disrespectfully to his mother and his sister, and called his sister names and all the stuff, and I should have just seen that, and I mentioned it to him a couple times. I said, it's a good indicator of how you're going to treat me eventually by how you treat your mother. And he kind of waved that off. Anyway, back to the separation thing. I would often refer to the Bible for things like that, for questions that I had about him, and the Bible says nothing about separation. It just says if you're married, you don't see other people, you don't date other people, you don't sleep with other people, you don't do any of that stuff. It never says it's okay if they're separated, because separation doesn't exist in the Bible. So, that weighed on me. The guilt did. It's hard for me to admit that I dated him. Like I said, I feel guilty about it. I feel ashamed about it. And I feel like I normally would not have ever done that. I just wouldn't have. So, I think, back to what I was saying about boundaries, I think that it's important after you get out of the relationship to start establishing boundaries for yourself that, that you feel very strongly about, that you won't, let your resolve break, that you will hold those boundaries. That way you don't have to worry about getting targeted again. And that's the most important thing, I think, is when you heal from this and you know how horrible it is, you don't ever want to do it again. And I thought that, I would see a narc from a mile away, because I had been in a relationship with 2 other narcissists, one long-term, the other one very short-term. And I thought I would see it from a mile away, but they're all different in the way that they attach to you and all of that. So it's hard to see, but at the same time, I was broken, and it was like he was a predator on injured prey. He saw me and knew exactly that I would be the perfect supply for him. And I want to get to the question that I wanted to ask. Do you agree that there are certain things that we go through that make us more vulnerable to this kind of behavior, this kind of relationship? Or is it in our nature? I believe it's a little bit of both. I think that people who are kind and giving and nurturing tend to be victimized by these people more often. However, I feel like in addition to that, the anxiety put me at as an easier target. So anyway, just let me know what you think about that. And I don't ever want to deal with narcissists again. Not even coworkers or, fellow church members or friends, So it's important to establish a wall to block out toxic people. Not the healthy relationships, don't block those out, because there are people who build up walls from that too, and that's just, that hardens your heart, that hardens your, it makes it harder to find someone who actually will care for you, because you've got these walls up. But I guess, put something up to where a toxic person can't get through. Put those boundaries up. Don't let your resolve break. And just remember how this felt. It's not a good feeling at all. I am ashamed of lowering my standards. I'm ashamed that I dated a married man. I have asked for forgiveness, and I feel that I've been forgiven. And, earlier in the relationship, I thought I would get out of this and I would feel ashamed and guilty. And I'm like, oh, I don't even want to think about that, because, guilt is such a bad feeling. But, you can't add extra guilt into the mix. You've already experienced hell, in a sense, I guess. You've already experienced just a torturous experience. So don't let your guilt or your shame or anything like that add on to it. You already have enough to deal with. Just let it go. Let it go. And, just move on. Forgive yourself. Ask for forgiveness. Forgive yourself. Allow yourself to be forgiven by God. Or, if you don't believe in God, just learn to forgive yourself. Learn to forgive the other person. Forgiveness is an amazing gift, and it just provides such closure and such peace. You have to learn to trust again. You have to learn to love again. You have to learn to care about yourself enough to want to leave, those bad relationships, or not get into those relationships. And you have to learn to care enough about yourself to let yourself have healthy relationships. And you have to learn how to let others love you. And I think that comes with, respecting yourself and, having boundaries that, if you don't have those, how can you expect someone to love you? I think the saying goes, if you can't love yourself, how do you expect somebody else to? So anyway, that's that video for today. And I'm sorry I ran a little long. Trying to go by a script now, just because I know that I ramble, and I'm sorry about that, but that's just, my mind just goes, and I think of things and I go in different directions, but I tried to, sort of stay on topic this time. Wednesday will be 4 weeks, so I'll be making an update video on Wednesday, which I'm very excited about. November 9th will be a month. I'm feeling much better. I feel not as emotional lately. I haven't cried in days. I'm so glad. And I think the farther you get, you look back and you're like, wow, I've made progress. It's such a slow feeling at first, but when you look back, you realize how much you've come, how far you've come. And now I think I'm at, I'm not angry per se. I do have my moments where I get angry with him. But I know that he's never going to change, so there's no point in being angry. But I think it's just, I don't think it's, completely anger. I think it's just that I'm coming to terms with letting it go, accepting it, cutting my losses, realizing that I messed up, and caused myself, by messing up, I caused myself pain. He caused me pain. You just have to accept it and move on, as hard as it is. I wanted to put a label on it. I wanted to analyze everything, but really, in the end, you just have to say, well, I won't do that again. Move forward. I might be a little cynical, but I'm trying not to let that get to me. I don't want to be bitter. I think it's worse to let it get to you and harden you. And, that's giving him power by letting it, get to me that much, to where I become a bitter person and pass up on good relationships because, I'm afraid they're all going to be like him. I want to be a better person for it. I want to use it as a lesson, and I want to take it down the road with me, and that's the best I can hope for, is to just let it make me a better person. I want to be a better daughter, a better friend, a better girlfriend in the future and wife in the future. And, the best thing about unfavorable people is that you learn what you don't want to be like. You learn the type of people you don't want to be around, you want to surround yourself with happy, positive people. And, fortunately for me, I'm blessed, and I have a wonderful family who's very supportive and, positive, and without them, it would be, I don't know how people do it without a support system. I pray and get closure from that, and I get peace from that. So, you just really have to reach out, because there's people who care, who genuinely care about you, and you have to just, let them help you get through it. Just one step at a time. That's what I said about, my panic attacks was, it was unbearable, literally unbearable, but I put one foot in front of the other and I got through it. Sometimes you just have to put your head down and just you know, go for it. Just keep walking. Keep moving forward. As uncomfortable as it may be, you'll come out stronger. So that's my video for today, and I will see you in a couple days, like I said. And any comments, go ahead and leave them, and I will talk to you soon. Bye-bye.